Okay, here we go. Chapter 2 is the first lesson, Chapter 2. Chapter 2 concerns itself with reasoning and proofs. So there's 6 sections here, and our first section is conditional statements. So the first thing in our notes, conditional statements, page 66, is conditional statements. A conditional statement is a logical statement that has 2 parts, a hypothesis, P, and a conclusion, Q. When a conditional statement is written in if-then form, the if part contains the hypothesis and the then part contains the conclusion. So in symbolically, if you put if P then Q, symbolically it'd be read like this. This is on the top of page 66, and that implies if P then Q. If P occurs, then Q occurs. Okay, we don't know if that's a true statement or false statement. It's a statement. We have to decide later on whether it's true or whether it's false. So a statement that says all birds have feathers, to put it into a conditional statement, you'd say, if an animal is a bird, then it has feathers. If a statement is you are in California, if you are in San Francisco. Okay, that statement would be, if you are in San Francisco, then you are in California. That's an example of a conditional statement. When you put it into if-then form, it makes it a little easier to understand. Okay, and then afterwards, there's this thing called negation on the bottom of page 66. A thing called negation. So you're going to do the opposite of the original statement. The statement is, this pencil is pink. The opposite would be, this pencil is not pink. If the statement is, this is a red pen, the opposite would be, pencil is not a red pen. If a statement says, this is not yellow, the opposite would be, this is yellow. If I said, that is not a cat, the opposite would be, that is a cat. By the way, that's a dog, by the way, just so you know. Her name's Cody. It's the Coatster. Okay, so we have conditional statements. So the conditional statement, move this so where we go, you can see both of these. If P then Q, this is in symbolic form, this is a conditional statement. Okay, for the converse, to take the converse, you just switch these two, you switch the order, and that becomes the converse. This one says if P then Q. This one says if Q then P. The inverse would be you negate both this and this. You negate the hypothesis, you negate the conclusion. So these little squiggly lines means not P, then not Q. Contrapositive would means from the conditional statement, you take the inverse and then you switch the order. So let's do an example here. A conditional statement. If today is Friday, then yesterday was Thursday. If blah, 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 then, okay, the stuff after the word if, that's your hypothesis. Today is Friday. The stuff that occurs after the word then, that's the material that's going to be the conclusion. Yesterday was Thursday. Okay. The converse means we're going to take the hypothesis and the conclusion and just switch the order. We take the P and the Q and switch it, just like it says right here. We take the P and the Q and switch the order. Okay, so we switch the order and it becomes, hold on, earthquake. It becomes, if yesterday was Thursday, then today is Friday. We just took the hypothesis and the conclusion and switched the order. That's how you get the converse. For the inverse, you go back to here, the conditional statement, and you negate the P, you negate the Q. So we're going to do the opposite. So the opposite of this would be, today is Friday. The opposite of that, today is not Friday. Yesterday was Thursday. The opposite would be yesterday was not Thursday. So you would write it as, if today is not Friday, then yesterday was not Thursday. Okay. Next one is the contrapositive. The contrapositive would be, if this is your conditional statement, you find the inverse, and then you switch the order. Switch the order. Okay, here's our conditional statement. Here's the, take the inverse. Okay, and here's the inverse. Now we have to negate both of these. So today is not Friday. The opposite is today is Friday. Yesterday was not Thursday. So wait, that is, we already got the, we just have to switch the order, my fault. We just have to take this and switch the order. So we get, if yesterday was not Thursday, then today is not Friday. Yikes. There we go. Conditional statement, converse, inverse, contrapositive. Okay, you can use that to help. The conditional statement, converse, inverse, contrapositive. And again, these squiggly lines mean it's a negation. We switch, it means it's the opposite. So, and next, perpendicular lines on the top of page 68. Lines that form 90-degree angles, lines that form at a right angle, are lines that are perpendicular. It's three ways of saying the same thing. Perpendicular, right angle, 90 degrees. Okay. So let's get going here into the assignment. Page 71. On page 71 we have copy the conditional statement, underline the hypothesis, and circle the conclusion. So number 3 says, if a polygon is a pentagon, then it has 5 sides. Okay. If a polygon is a pentagon, then it has 5 sides. The stuff after the word if, here's your hypothesis, a polygon is a pentagon, and the material after the word then, that will be your conclusion. It has 5 sides. Sweet angel mama, bam. Okay. Down here, 7 to 12, rewrite the conditional statement in if-then form. So here's a statement. The measures of complementary angles summed on 90 degrees. So one way of doing it would be, if two angles are complementary angles, then their sum is 90 degrees. That's one way of doing it. Another way you could do this would be to say, if two angles sum to be 90 degrees, then they are complementary angles. So there's at least 2 different ways you can do to make that a true statement. Okay. And for question 13, yeah, write the negation of the statement. The sky is blue. The opposite is, the sky is not blue. Number 15, the ball is not pink. The opposite would be, the ball is pink. You don't want to put, you do not want to say the ball is not pink. That's double negation. Okay, you don't want to do that. You don't do the double negation in English. It doesn't happen. Okay, it's like saying in English, there's no double positives. Yeah, right. Zinger. Your parents would like that one. Okay, number 17. Write the conditional statement, write the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive in words. In words. Then decide whether each statement is true or false. So number 17, let's go to number 17. It's upside down. We were ready. So doink. I don't want you to see that yet, so let's cover it up. So question 17, we don't want to put it in symbolic form. P is going to be 2 angles are supplementary, and the Q is going to be the measures of the angles summed to 180. Okay, so let's write this in as a conditional statement. Here's our conditional statement. If 2 angles are supplementary, then the measures of the angles sum to 180 degrees. That's your conditional statement. Next, converse. The converse means we have to switch the order. Here's the stuff, here's the word if. Here's the word then. The stuff after the word if is the hypothesis. So 2 angles are supplementary, that's your P. And the stuff after the word then, the measures of the angles sum to 180, that's your Q. We have to switch the order. So the converse would be, If the measures of the angles sum to 180 degrees, then the two angles are supplementary. Okay. Then we have the inverse. The inverse is where you take the conditional statement and you negate both parts. We have to negate that. So the opposite of two angles are supplementary would be two angles are not supplementary. The opposite of the measures of the angles sum to 180 would be the measures of the angles do not sum to 180. So your inverse would be if two angles are not supplementary, then the measures of the angles do not sum to 180 degrees. Converse. Converse means you go back to your conditional statement. Here's what the original thing we started with. Find the inverse, and then you switch the order. So we want to put this first. The measures of the angles do not sum to 180. If the measures of the angles do not sum to 180, then the two angles are not supplementary. There's your contrapositive. There's your contrapositive. Okay. Now, are we done with the problem? Then decide whether each statement is true or false. No, we're not. We have to decide whether it's true or false. Alrighty then. Okay. If two angles are supplementary, then the measures of the angles sum to 180 degrees. Bingo, it's true. Okay. I'll give you a hint here. When you do this stuff, the conditional statement and the contrapositive, they will have the same truth value. These two statements, make this earthquake. These two statements, that statement and that statement, will have the same truth value. Let me go, come on. These two statements will either both be true or these two statements will both be false. You will not be able to find a case where one of these is true and the other is false. It doesn't happen. These are both true or they're both false. Since this is a true statement, I know that statement also has to be true. These are both true. Okay. The other part is these two statements, the converse and the inverse. These have the same truth value. Okay. They're both true or they're both false. You will not find a case where one of these is true and one's false. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Converse, if the measures of the angles sum to 180 degrees, then the two angles are supplementary. Okay, that's a true statement. If that's a true statement, why do I know if that's a true statement, then this also has to be true. So those are true, as well as these two are true. So in this case, all four are true. Oh, sweet, look at that. All four are true. And there we go. Good luck, guys. Bye.